Everybody, a couple minutes out.
And it just started banking down on us.
You guys hear me?
I can hear you, Chief. I think they're in the conference room still muted.
But it's still great.
So we
got, six different. We're not just.
So you can put the thermal impact in different areas.
Yeah, we can have.
Good.
The goal is to have me.
Oh, okay. Make one a little bit better.
All right, good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, May 15th. This is our quarterly LEPC meeting. It's 10:01 a.m. and we're gonna get started. We do have a quorum, right, Ms. Burke?
Yes, based on and in the room, yes.
Excellent. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance and we'll get on to introduction.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And a brief moment of silence. All right. And we begin. All right, substitute teacher, I'll be hosting today. We do have Chair Russo on virtual today. So he will be chiming in and out, but your vice chair will be running the show. All right, so let's go around with member introductions. I'm your vice chair, Brian Brown, work for Hollywood Fire. We have
Kenny O's, Broward Sheriff's Office.
Doug Valley, Similar Track Fire Rescue.
Jay Lawrence here, South Florida Water Management District.
Georgie Cliffberry.
Joseph Deluda, Florida Department of Environmental Protection.
Eduardo Koenig, Broward County EPD. Dan Scarborough, Miami-Dade County EM.
Jesus Oliva, I'm with the Brentag Chemical Company.
Natasha Strogan, Memorial Healthcare System.
Kathy Lurch, Director of Administration, SFRPC.
LEPC Coordinator.
Pine Valley, Florida Department of Transportation.
Laura Winus, Emergency Management Specialist, Sector Miami.
Jeff Barnes, Coast Guard. Sergio Lambo, Hialeah Fire Department.
And all our members that are joining us virtually. We can start with Chair Russo.
Good morning, President.
He's trying, he's working.
Good morning, everybody.
Can't hear you yet, Chief.
No? It's not muted.
I can hear you, Chief Russo. I don't know if they can.
We see you.
Can,
All right, I'm
Charlene, can you
here.
hear?
Present. If you guys can't hear me, maybe. it's the
Shannon
AirPods.
is
I
joining
can-
us. She'll
I
be doing a
can-
presentation this morning on the HMERP. David Reynolds, are you there, sir?
I'm here. Good morning. President accounted for.
Maybe the
Yeah,
volume's
maybe
on.
our audio is not.
Maybe our audio is off.
Our volume is off. It's-
Yeah, because nobody can, you don't hear anybody.
We can hear him virtually, but you guys, if you can't hear him, maybe it's your speakers.
Yeah, I can see people on Zoom.
Yeah. We want to hear Russo
I
anyway.
was gonna say.
I often get blamed for their issues.
I didn't say it. I support it. I didn't say it. And we have
Yeah.
Kay Weston.
Right.
Keith Weston?
Here,
And Mr. Yunus.
Rodriguez, A. Rodriguez?
yes, sir, I'm here.
That's a Eunice.
It's A Eunice, yes.
Very
Thank
good,
you.
thank you. And A. Rodriguez?
Axel Rodriguez, present.
Hi, Axel, thank you.
You're welcome.
Freddie Franks?
Yes, I'm here with Univar Solutions Chemical Distribution.
Thanks for joining us today, Mr. Franks. Chief Marston? Are you able to hear us, sir? Alicia, are you there? Alicia Lopez, our staff member here at the Planning Council and Director of Clean Cities. Southeast
Good morning.
South-
Can you hear me, Charlene? I'm here.
Thanks, Alicia.
All
I
right.
believe that's everyone. There you are, Chief Marston.
Finally got the clicker and the mouse to work. Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Well, welcome, sir.
All right, it's good to have Monroe County back in the house. All right, we're looking forward to working with you guys. All right, so if there are any membership alterations, recent changes, or any needs for changes, please see our coordinator, Charlene. She'll handle that. If you're looking for updates or you need to clarify who your member or alternate is versus stakeholders, she can help you out with that. And then otherwise, we are on to our presentation from Shannon with the draft of the HMERP that she's been working so diligently on. Thank you again. All yours, Shannon.
Of course. Can everyone see my slides? Okay. Okay,
Yes.
so if I look to the side, it's because I have another monitor up with my notes that I'd like to read from. So hello, everyone. I hope all is well. I am pleased to return here and present an updated version of the 2024 HMERP for this quarter. Before we begin, some of you may know I recently relocated to Warner Robins to work on Boeing C-17 program. So greetings from Georgia. And it's nice to virtually meet any new faces. I am far away from home, yet I still have the opportunity to author plans in this region, which is forever my home. Thank you all for scheduling me in this meeting today. I was brought on to assist with condensing the 2023 HMERP into a usable document for first responders, facility owners, and any key players or agencies. I also want to thank Monroe and Miami-Dade, along with emergency management at Memorial Healthcare System, for providing their feedback prior to this meeting to assist with making this plan efficient and better for future iterations. So the next slide, this is just an overview. This was presented in February, the February 2024 meeting. This is an overview of how the plan has changed from then until now. So pink indicates the sections that are completely removed due to out of scope information. It is now restructured into 7 different sections, and there is an appendix A, so that is section 7. The target audience, it's authored for experienced officials. Therefore, there are some portions of the plan that appear condensed or brief. It is assumed that readers already know a majority of the content as general knowledge. This plan is not authored for the public. It is intentional that basic information such as organizational structure could possibly be removed to conserve page space, and that's something that I will discuss later on in the presentation. So before all of the document statistics and everything in detail, I do want to make note that there are 2 new front matter sections. Front matter refers to information that is before the actual start of the plan. So this includes your table of contents, list of illustrations, list of tables, cover page, terms and definitions, etc. So there are 2 new sections, document guidelines and update and revision criteria. Initially, these 2 portions were going to be delivered as separate standalone attachments to the plan. However, given how critical this information is, they are now included to immediately precede the cover page. This whatsoever must not be removed from any subsequent updates or revisions or comments. This ensures that county and LEPC staff can maintain the same tone and level and brevity of the content that is being updated in years to come. This plan must remain consistent in every section. For example, Broward County cannot have thorough procedures while Monroe County does not have the same level and depth of those same procedures. Every section should be perceived as independent in the sense that Broward County can go into their section and it's separated from what Monroe has or what Miami-Dade has. The primary idea here is to standardize every section to be concise and as similar as possible. These 2 sections, mitigate any potential for content inconsistencies moving forward. Everything is standardization, and the more feedback that we can get, it helps Ms. Burke and I understand what every county needs, what key players need, and this section will reflect any changes from the comments that we receive and that we look at. So this is still a work in progress, but this kind of introduces what the document is and provides update and revision criteria for future iterations. So another, another key point is that there are 9 requirements to adhere to based on the Hazardous Material Emergency Preparedness Grant. As of right now, as of yesterday, there's 66% of this criteria that is implemented. Some require county personnel to provide feedback for further clarification. To the right of the slide, you can see that these are information or comments that still need to be addressed that would help us fulfill what is identified in pink. Those are the missing requirements that we need to incorporate prior to sending this off for state approval. My comments, typically go for ambiguous information. If it can be further clarified, that would help immensely with the plan, condensing it into those 10 pages per county. So that pretty much covers this slide. So some of you all have already seen this. This is what the plan originally looked like. And just for time constraints, I will keep it moving. So plan statistics. So I would say that the 2024 HMERP is currently 80% completed. Once again, I will reiterate any feedback is welcomed. There are a couple comments that are critical in this PowerPoint that need to be addressed so that way we can move forward and continue presenting a draft that is ready for the state. Future updates cannot exceed 10 pages per section. So Broward County has 10 pages to use for their content. So does Monroe, so does Miami-Dade, along with the South Florida LEPC. And there are 2 new sections dedicated to first responders and facility owners. So everything is capped at 10 pages. This document cannot exceed 70 pages total. The reason being is the original HMARP was like 200 something pages. It was long and you cannot use that out in the field. So moving forward, 70 pages. If there are any issues where, you know, your page count goes into 11 pages, please contact Miss Charlene Burke so that way we can figure out what content is critical. And if you happen to access the SharePoint, anything that is highlighted and bold usually has a comment attached and needs to be addressed. So I just want to bring that to your attention. For example, in the image to the left, you can see plot plan book is highlighted in bold, and there's a comment next to it that says, what exactly is this? Can this be further explained? How is this relevant to what the section is talking about? Once again, as much input as we can get from key players and agencies and the counties will help us really, really condense this plan and understand the scope of what every county needs and what facility and response owners need. That's pretty much the idea for this entire plan. Let's, you know, make this usable for first responders and facility owners. So once again, this has been presented in the February meeting, but just to quickly summarize this, there's information here that was inconsistent in the 2023 Hazardous Material Emergency Response Plan. I would like the input of key players, county personnel to ensure that whatever I have consolidated is accurate and it matches state guidelines. So that would be great if that could be possible. If information is adopted from one source, why are there 2 different versions? That's basically the gist of what these 2 tables showcase. So I have went ahead and consolidated everything to make it thorough, concise, and I would love any feedback to make sure that this can be used out in the fields. This is just an example of my comments that I have been working on since February to now. Primary issues ambiguity, especially for someone that's looking in with this type of document. I want to make sure that whatever my comments are aligns with what county personnel, emergency response, and facility owners need in a plan like this. And also it matches the scope of what this plan is intended for, as in what it's used for in the field. So feel free to take a look at this. You will have a PDF version, I believe, from Ms. Burke. So just due to time constraints, I will kind of keep it moving. So I do actually have to hop off as soon as my presentation is over because I am working, but I just wanted to say thank you so much again for everyone that, you know, has advocated for this to be a top priority, and for those who have taken time to look at the drafts, add comments and feedback. If you do need to contact me, please forward your inquiries to Ms. Burke, and she will also let me know as well for any comments or concerns. So thank you so much for your time. It's an honor to be here to present.
Jen, could you hang on for just 1 second?
Yes.
If I may, I would just like to publicly thank Shannon. She has worked tirelessly on this document. She's probably put in close to 200 hours of her own time as a volunteer. She's very passionate about this. She gives me a lot of hope that we have really great generations moving forward in the field of emergency management. And so, and she really has tremendous respect and admiration for everybody sitting at this table. So Shannon, thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely,
Of course,
Shannon.
happy to be here.
Your expertise and your technical assistance is invaluable. I definitely can't do what you do, and I definitely appreciate it. And your pride and ownership for the region, even when you're out of state, is admirable. Thank you very much.
I would actually, this is Chief Russo. I would third that because this is an important document. It's one of those things that maybe gets forgotten about until the requirement says you have to update it, and you just do what you have to do to get through it, which is obviously to some degree what could have happened here. But you hit the nail on the head. The document has to be usable. So this is a huge step. And for everybody else, let's try to give some input while we can. Charlene can speak to some of the timelines, and you don't want this document to be, less than what it can be with everybody's input. I'll just say that. So thank you very much, Shannon.
And very briefly on the timelines. So what we'll do, there are some questions Shannon, if you need to go ahead. I'll deal with the admin side. Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great meeting.
Thank you. Bye.
I'll send out the clean copy with all a lot of contributions were already made, so we'll send out a clean copy. We do need to send both versions of track changes and a clean copy to State Emergency Response Commission. So Shannon's double tasking between work and volunteering, so within a couple weeks, we'll get that out to everybody. Then it'll be like, okay, this is your last chance. Take a look, because now I've got to package this and send it to the state. So we'll get that out to everyone shortly. Thanks, Chief.
All right, excellent. We have a few more people who have joined us in person and online. Do we want to jump on, let those individuals introduce themselves?
Pete Schechter.
Welcome back, Pete. All right, and I believe we have one or two extra people online that have joined us. I see Gabe, I see one or two others.
Yes.
Good morning.
And Junieth?
Good morning. Apologies for the tardiness.
No worries. Welcome. Happy to have you. All right, moving on to any questions on the HMERP? All right, I encourage you guys to take a cruise through that document. It's incredible how much progress Shannon has really made. It's invaluable for sure. All right, so on to the chair's reports. Russo, would you like to run the chair's report, or do you want me to take it from here? Put them on the spot.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I
Can you hear me? All right, so I'm sure that you will speak on it. I think it's probably better that you run it from there. When you get to the basically the drill that we had, just make sure you talk about the drill that we're going to do that as a deliverable for the EOC drill for the no notice event we had.
Copy. All right, so Oscar Rodriguez, our TTF, our training task force representative, he's unfortunately unable to be here today. He's tied up with another training exercise. But some of the updates that we have as far as TTF, both from our own representative and from the CERC level, a lot of this stuff is already included in the agenda package. So if you want additional details, I encourage you guys to take a look at that. It should be attached to your email with the invitation that Charlene sent out for the meeting. The EV battery task force, there's an extra that we're ongoing with that. Extra information in that agenda package. The lithium ion battery symposium that Chief Russo and these gentlemen have been a participant of. It's ongoing. They're working towards, I believe, an EV battery, EV full vehicle burn, in addition to soil sampling, air sampling, environmental concerns, working with the State Fire Marshal's office, the EPA. Chief Lamb, who leads the TTF, is going to be assisting with that, along with these guys on the State Fire Marshal side. As far as the lithium ion task force at the state level, right? So
I wanted to mention to the group, like, I've been working on like an awareness level for lithium ion for first responders. It's something we don't have right now. I think all of our information is just about everywhere. It's kind of scattered. And we want to pull it all in and put it into a more organized format, so we can deliver it to all the first responders, whether it's through a video to get it out there. However, we need to get the information out there. And I think if we collectively, all of us, including Chief Russo and Chief Rodriguez, put together this program at the awareness level and give it a name, because that's exactly what we're teaching out there in the field. We're teaching all the micromobility, all the EV scooters, all that stuff. And we need to format it properly, so when we deliver it, it's in that let's crawl, let's walk, let's run type of awareness level.
Yeah, absolutely. And then at the same level, there's a lot of different agencies, a lot of different departments doing a lot of things. For example, Hollywood, we did a micromobility live burn. We actually ignited two different exercises in utilizing some of the suppression equipment that's available in the industry, and tracking temperature changes, tracking both ignition sources and micromobility devices being subject to a secondary ignition source and what that looks like. So the more that we can collect that information, share it with the region, but also make it easy to use and easy to understand.
And departments, just so you know, departments are reaching out, Riviera Beach, West Palm, Palm Beach County. I just sent some information out. They want to reschedule Chief Russo in reference to
Mm-hmm.
some training up there in the Palm Beach area, the 4-hour format that we have. So it's out there, and I'll keep you guys posted.
Excellent. Chief Russo, anything to add, particularly about the exercise?
Sure.
Marshal's office?
Yes, I actually talked to Director Rice yesterday. So we've had a couple of meetings. Is Oscar at the meeting today too, or no? I didn't see him. What's that?
He's unable to be here.
Okay, so last weekend or 2 weekends ago, it's all a blur. We had a virtual meeting in regards to the burn. So the burn actually now, thanks to Chief Bader, is going to be 2 hybrid vehicles. And the initial intent with that burn was a partnership with F500, which some of you may know is not a foam; it's an encapsulating agent. I think it works really well in scenarios where you have access to the battery cells. The challenge with EVs is getting it to those protected cells and the delivery method. So what we accomplished over the last couple of days, I had a long conversation with the F500 folks, and I also had a conversation with AFAS nozzles as well as. So there's a couple different avenues that we're going to use to deliver it, and then I'll get with Oscar and we'll talk about the tactics. But that's going to be the 25th. That burn will be a true research burn with I think it's ACT is going to do the chemical analysis along with the and retention, vapor analysis, bunker gear analysis. I'm actually up here in Georgia right now at MAFC, and I'm meeting with 10-8 tomorrow to get fitted for my bunker gear for the burn. So it's going to be a legitimate research burn. It's just so rare to be able to get something like this. We want to try to maximize it. So it's a funny balance because everything takes so long and has to be so precise as you can control these batteries. It just, you can't do 3 or 4 in a day because then you start to get into logistical issues. So what I think this is going to do for the state of Florida is it's going to open the door and kind of set the standard to Chief LaValle's point on how to do these things, right? So we're looking at San Diego and some of the stuff that they've done out there, as well as New York. But a lot of the EV stuff is just a little bit of a challenge. I can tell you in the last week, there's been 3 or 4 in the state of Florida. One of them was in Hollywood. So one different event that I just want to make sure I just got a phone call, a text actually from our storekeeper, Brian. The ERGs have finally arrived. So I guess it was a perfect timing as we're conducting the meeting that they showed up.
Yeah, we will give everybody, Charlie, we'll send out some instructions on that and we'll address it later on in the meeting as well. Thank you for that update. We'll get that going. All right, and carrying on with some of the lithium ion, obviously the lithium ion batteries, we're starting to see more landfill fires. So it was a big topic at CERC for addressing additional regulation, additional firefighting and awareness level for those employees that work for landfills, waste management companies and everything else like that. And we just kind of find it ironic and just kind of interesting how everything always in hazmat circles back to SARA Title III and CERCLA and all that, and landfills and batteries and all that.
Has anybody ever done an analysis to see where the batteries that are causing these fires coming from primarily?
Chief Russo might be able to
Yes.
touch on that.
Yes. So the answer is there's a lot of different hotspots. Are you referring to like a manufacturer or geographical area?
just because I'm in compliance for Broward County.
Yes.
And we go to businesses and we make sure that they do things properly. But what I can see on a personal level, what happens around my neighborhood is people don't really follow any such guidelines of the battery dies, you throw it in the garbage.
Yes.
So, you know, I know that it's a very slippery slope, but are they looking to see how they can make homeowners or residential a little bit more, not aware, because the information is out there, but just a little bit more accountable in a way? Is there any discussion on that?
I have not heard about accountability, but I think we're going to eventually cross that bridge, right? Because we're in the numbers of the trillions of these batteries. I think what you're going to see, and you and I have the awareness, but the term the buzzword lately is there saturation, right? Does anybody really pay attention to it? And they're starting to see the true impact of, hey, I've always heard my batteries are my alkaline batteries are, I'm not supposed to do anything with them. I'm supposed to put the tape on them and dispose of them properly, and they never do, right? And there was nothing ever happened, so they don't worry about it. But now they're starting to see that there is consequences for their actions. And I think really what we've done with the LEPC and a lot of the local fire departments is adopt the Take Charge campaign. I know Broward County's put some awareness out there, but I think it really needs to be pushed further. Some of the impact videos and just notifications and just seeing the actual incidents and how much it happens in the landfills and in the garbage trucks. As these things are getting transported just from the homes themselves, there's a big uptick in that. So when you start attaching major dollars like that, then I think you might start to see what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, and for those that are not familiar, there's actually a link to the UL's Take Charge program for some of the information awareness to the public later on in the administrative items. It is in, where is it? It's later on in the agenda package. It looks like we're about halfway down under EV and lithium ion in section 12 administrative items. So
I think a lot of departments around the country are doing just information bulletins for the communities and their videos. And a lot of the videos are all the same videos. Actually, we basically copied and pasted a video because we were by LA County said we could, and we just put our logos on it. But we sent it out to the tribal community on Facebook and got great feedback. They were unaware. People are just unaware. When they buy an EV, if they park their Malibu in the garage, when they trade in their Malibu and they buy a Tesla, where's it going? It's going in the garage. So people are they have to be a little bit more informed about this product. It's just another product to them. They don't realize, the hazards associated with that product. Yeah.
One of the keys to close this loop is probably to engage with the point of sale. Some point the manufacturers, but the Home Depots, the Lowe's, because I think a lot of the problems that the fire world is seeing are commuter, mostly just residential grade, not commercial grade, but just typical retail stuff that doesn't work anymore and people are trashing it, goes through the compactor and it gets really exciting for someone. And they get a really interesting ornament in their driveway. If we could get jointly somehow with Lowe's, Home Depot, some of these larger distributors, the ability to have a loop. Remember when hazmat first all really came into being, there was the whole cradle to grave thing, and it started with auto parts stores and recycling oil. We could get to the same kind of awareness with some of our partners. I think it would take a lot of pressure off of the fire community and public safety in general.
Sure, because all these tools that are leaving Home Depot, Lowe's, they're all lithium ion batteries.
Yeah.
I mean, it's down to fishing rods. The guy lost, did about $350,000 worth of damage in his home in West Palm Beach or Palm Beach County unincorporated due to electric fishing rod, that lithium ion battery. He went fishing, put the rods in his garage, went to sleep, woke up, his garage was on fire.
Even so, awareness to the point of users. I've had fires where people have dropped their tools and they just pick them up and keep using them. Think of the average mechanic shop, even your maintenance shop at the pier at the Coast Guard for your maintenance people. I mean, they drop their stuff, they pick it up, it doesn't look broken, but they don't know what shock value has occurred to the inside of that. They
Yep.
put it in, it's charging overnight and the building's gone in the morning.
That is so important.
Correct.
What you just mentioned, when people
So-
are fumbling with like just a lithium ion battery,
Drop a drill.
3.6 volt, they drop it on the ground, they pick it up and they put it back in your device or the unit, and something happens to it. It's already been shock damaged and it's not 100%.
So to Peter's point, I think you guys brought up a couple points, and I'm gonna just bring up here my viewpoint on this. Peter said something very important in talking about the hazmat world and from the cradle to the grave. Remember, there's an additional challenge here, right? Because it's not really a hazardous material, right? And it's a potential hazardous waste, and it's a hazardous waste if it's damaged, but you don't always know it's damaged. And Peter will tell you just from his experience too. The problem, it's kind of like AFib. The only really consistent thing that we're seeing with these batteries is the inconsistency. Meaning, when you have a damaged battery, you can have 3 batteries from the same lot number, same manufacturer, same amount of charge, and do the same exact damage to them to induce it, or whether it occurs naturally, and you get 3 different results, right? One kind of just swells up or really does nothing on the short circuit. The other one does a violent off gas, and the other one goes into full thermal runaway. So, and the timeline varies too. So that's part of the challenge, but there is a little bit more accountability, I think, coming for what we're going to do and following this stuff to the grave. The problem I ran into, Peter, is locally, and I won't name any business names, but there is a responsibility for the distribution point to be able to recover these batteries, right? That's why you see these things at Home Depot and Lowe's and Batteries Plus. But if you ask somebody up and into including management, you're going to get a lot of different answers on what they do or what to do with those batteries that are all collected sitting either in front of, in the store, or behind the store. So let that one sink in for a minute.
Yeah,
Proceed.
absolutely. Thank you, Chief. And then obviously, it's also a case in point where we want to not instill fear in the public as a region, as public safety, as fire rescue, as other stakeholders. It's about education, it's about awareness, it's about making sure that we have the infrastructure and hold people accountable for that infrastructure, for proper purchasing, management, and even disposal. So, and then educating the public in a positive way, because they shouldn't be afraid of their lithium-ion lawnmower, right? But they should understand that it's a different type of technology, it's a different type of energy source, and that it comes with a different set of considerations. Right? I appreciate you guys chiming in on that. On to a very similar topic, the PFAS foam disposal. So we talk a lot about some of the F500, which is not a foam product, but we did talk about the F500 and the PFAS foam disposal. As you know, PFAS was another big project box with the TTF with Chief Lamb at the state level. And we have been slowly but surely changing over to a fluorine-free firefighting foam component in the state of Florida. I know our department has. Have you guys made that changeover quite yet? Yeah, so that involves new products, new training, new equipment, and it's quite the endeavor. And then after all is said and done, now you're talking about, okay, what do you do with this old stuff? Exactly, and which has a health and safety and environmental impact concern. So Chief Lamb, who's our TTF for CERC, he had 5-gallon pails, and they wanted to charge him, what was it? Over $25,000 for disposal. So, I mean, you're talking about somebody who's educated, hardworking, in a place of authority in public safety, who's trying to do the right thing, and he's being roadblocked due to economics, which is unfortunately a factor, right? So that's a big hurdle. Every mom and pop shop or every small fire department has got 1 or 3 stations. You think they can afford that disposal fee? Probably not, right? And then now you're talking about larger departments, Broward County as a whole. How much foam do you guys have in your ARF trucks, in your airplane? Just how much product are you gonna have to dispose of? Is that even feasible?
We're working on it.
Right, so Chief Lamb has taken it upon himself to start contacting, there are only, I think, 3 disposal sites in the entire state of Florida that will take this product. And obviously, we want to take that product, we don't want people just throwing it in the dumpster or dumping it down the drain. But if you charge them $25,000, that's where it's gonna end up, right? So Chief Lamb is working on the state level with Rob Dietrich from FDM, and they're contacting those sites to see if they can't come up with a solution, either an amnesty day or week, or a collection point, or something. Maybe they say, hey, all fire departments in the southeast region on this week, you can come drop off your stuff, right? Whether it's a reduced cost or for free, ideally, right? But they're trying to see if they can work out some sort of partnership, because once again, now the infrastructure is actually there, but there's still other roadblocks we have to overcome. So that's been a big talking point at the state level, at the CERC meetings. So that's definitely one of the larger TTF project boxes that are ongoing.
That's something that needs to be done in the counties. Each county have,
Right.
just, drop off site.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's gonna obviously take a lot of coordination. Look how much coordination it took just to get a bunch of ERGs down to our region, right? Imagine phone disposal, right? So it's gonna be, it's a work in progress. It's something that a lot of smarter minds than mine are working on. So hopefully we get some results pretty soon.
Lieutenant Brown, if
Yes,
I
ma'am.
may, just the main thing is don't just hold on to it. And help us on the way. They're working on a solution, right? So just hold tight and let everybody else that has that product just hold on to it. Help us on the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's definitely something that we didn't really foresee, but definitely it came up with. Yeah, Chief Lamb's on the job. We got it. All right. Speaking of Chief Lamb, he also gave us, once again, his updates for the hazmat symposium. That was a big hit. He finally got and collected all the official numbers, the biggest, baddest hazmat symposium we've had so far. Hopefully it'll be bigger next year. He's got all of that information available to you guys. In addition to that, we have the offshore hazmat pilot program is still ongoing. And I believe that's in the North Florida, LEPC region, Jacksonville region, right? So obviously Chief Russo was a big, proponent of getting the offshore hazmat pilot program going here. It just so happened that we had a couple of incidents with offshore hazmat and TRT related incidents in the moment. So that is ongoing. I believe that's a 3rd instance of the pilot program.
I believe this will be the last.
This is the 3rd and last.
It's the last. Yep.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. They're going to start moving into the productive class phase. And really the partnership with Resolve and in having some involvement locally for resources, they're very thankful. The bottom line, if you haven't been following this program, is it's over a dozen years old, and they kind of hit a point where it's been stuck in pilot for the last couple of years. And we kind of took some of the feedback, made some changes, and got some infrastructure down south here, and it's making a big difference. So that's just one very long ongoing project box that will, hopefully we won't have to use it anytime soon, but there will be a time when we're going to have to use it, and it's going to be a usable, a viable partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the state level, the Emergency Response Commission and the Division of Emergency Management, they're finding a lot of value in this project. They're getting a lot of results. And then it suits our goal and objective of kind of tying TRT and hazmat a little bit more together, making sure that equipment is available to those who need it, and then kind of spreading that awareness. So it's been I think a very productive pilot program to kind of rejuvenate. Anything else on that? All right. So there's also a couple other TTF updates as far as from the State Fire Marshal's Office and the Florida Fire Chiefs Association. Chief Murphy at CERC and Jeff Strickland at the State Fire Marshal's Office. They addressed a couple of things. Predominantly, there's been a lot of pipeline strikes during construction. Obviously, there's always a lot of construction, particularly in our areas. And they're finding it very, very difficult to hold. Once again, accountability is the issue. They're finding it difficult to hold these organizations accountable. Because a lot of times it's a small company and then they just change the name and they hit the next line and they disappear, they hit the next line. So the big discussion was, how do we hold these companies accountable, and or how do we get cost recovery from it, right? Because if you want to make them really think twice, you hit them in the wallet, right? So they're finding it very, very difficult, because while the State Fire Marshal's Office has the authority It's a big civil versus criminal debate. We have civil authority, but they don't, but it's gonna be a criminal charge and vice versa. So all the legislature in the world in favor of the state fire marshal's office doesn't really do any good if it doesn't have any teeth behind it, right? So they are trying to figure out how to hold some of these construction companies accountable for the damage that they're causing and the costs that they're incurring. Because sometimes you'll have the same company hit the same pipeline 3 times in 1 week. And now you have a significant cost and delays to construction, economic impact to local businesses, to fire rescue organizations, hazmat funding, and everything else that goes along with that. So that's another big item that they're looking at to see what kind of legislature they can push to a state level to try to help that. And then last but not least, the gigantic ERG project, which has been a bigger project than I ever dreamed possible. But the ERGs are in, so all of the organizations that need the newest updated ERGs, we have 4 pallets at Hollywood and 4 pallets with Chief Rodriguez in Margate. Those are available to be distributed starting today. So however many you need, come and get them. They are both English and Spanish, and grab as many as you need within reason because the state has plenty. Right, so there was a little bit of a logistical delay because they weren't sure who was responsible for the funding and the logistics of actually shipping them down to each individual region. But Rob Dietrich was on the case. He figured it out. They are actually being offloaded into our warehouse as we speak, so they are available. So feel free to come by, pick them up, coordinate with some of your neighbors, and we'll get the new books out to everybody, whoever needs it.
What's the location of it? I just got to write it down.
So Hollywood is going to be 3400 North 56th Avenue. It's gonna be in the rear building, the logistics warehouse. And then Margate, the address, Sharon, do you have the address for the
It's
Margate?
not on there.
location?
I was gonna say, I can, for anybody that needs the address, I can provide, if you can come through me, then I can coordinate with the details.
Is that gonna be for, is that gonna be per unit? Is that gonna be per unit for the department?
You take what you need. If you need 50, you take 50, and there's English and Spanish versions, so it's,
Yeah.
take what you need, and we anticipate that there might be some additional coming to us at some point in time in the future, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, we have about double what we anticipated we needed, so grab what you need. Hang on my house, I got stuff.
Are there digital versions?
There is, in your agenda package under, on number 12, Charlene did link the digital asset, right?
And it's
And
got-
of course, there are iPhone, iPad apps for your Samsungs and everything else like that.
And the changes aren't in there, but the website does feature the ERG changes. You just Google ERG and 2024 ERG, and you can see the history of the changes as well if you need that information. So there's Android, there's Apple, and then the actual full document, if you need it electronic, is there as well for you and online. And then we don't have budget to get them to places, so it would just be a coordination. But unfortunately, they weren't here in time to bring them to the meeting, otherwise I would have had boxes available today. So just work with me and we'll hey, I'm gonna be here, great, I'll put a box in the truck, we'll figure those details out. Just work with me and we'll get them to you. In fact, I actually have a question for the group. If anyone is going to Monroe County, I have a possibility of a connection this weekend that I'm going to work with, but if anyone's headed to the Keys, I could use an extra set of hands to bring volumes down there, so you can follow up with me after.
And then Charlene, I believe you're gonna send an email out to the LEPC group as far as letting everybody who's not able to be here today,
Yes.
inform them, and then I'm
Yes.
sure it'll go out to fireside training, education, and things like that. So the various committees, it'll filter through. So
Yes.
we have plenty, and there's more on the way. Come and get what you need. And then work with Charlene if you have an opportunity to help out our friends in the room.
So I would say have Oscar and Kenny make sure that they present, not just in the subcommittee. So yeah, that'll be the boots on the ground to come get them. But they need to do a quick presentation in the monthly fire chiefs meeting to get all the municipalities out and about to come start grabbing these. And I'm sure you already have a procedure with Judy, but yeah, what Charlene said is very true. I literally just before I started to come on for the chair report, I got a text saying that they just arrived. So just a couple minutes too late for today, but good news that they're finally here. Don't worry about digital. You need a hard copy. Take my hard copies out of logistics.
Yeah. You want you want 4 pallets of books sitting in the warehouse?
I don't want to hear it from Judy. I got to keep Judy happy. She's the real boss.
So what you're trying to say is come get them from Hollywood first and let Oscar deal with marketing surplus after, right, okay. All right.
There's penalties for missing meetings, boys and girls.
Yeah, Judy is the keeper of all of our promotions and supplies and all that, so we're very nice to Judy. She gets us all the good things. That's all I have for the TTF. As far as the LEPC is concerned, obviously at the CERC meeting, all the LEPCs come together. Not a lot of critical information for the group on that, but if you have any particular interest on a particular topic, feel free to contact Charlene. She is up to speed with everything that's going on, not only in our LEPC, but with the surrounding ones as well. And then at the CERC level, the RMP, the program for the fiscal year is ongoing, the audit inspection work plan. The hazard analysis working group, Tyler Nolan, he gave his update on the hazard analysis working group. It's always informational if you're able to hear it. The hazmat incident reporting, there's always a little couple of briefs on some of the local hazmat incidents that are helpful. We did have a chance to speak with Jason from Flow MSP. Once again, he continues to develop that application and volunteer that all his data for the tier 2 site reporting, and that application is free to everybody. And he does offer a subscription model for somebody who needs a little bit more capability involved with that. But he's taking all that tier 2 site data, all of the lists, and he's correcting the geographic location. He's doing a lot of mapping. Last I checked with him, he's going to add a hydrant layer for the fire service into the GIS. And then we did ask him about plume modeling. Can you add an emergency response plume modeling? That's something that our region is getting specific requests for equipment and training to offer our hazmat teams the ability to plume model. So, hey, we have a chlorine leak. How does that affect this with the current weather reports? What does that look like on the map? So we've asked Jason to kind of take a look at, hey, if you're going to offer this product, especially for free for public safety, it would be great to have the weather and plume modeling layer available on his mapping. He said it's a lot more complicated than I'll ever understand. So he's currently working on it, but it's not available yet, but it is one of his high priority items. On that same topic, with the planning and training working group, obviously we field a lot of requests for training and for equipment and all that. And one of the major requests we've had and that we've approved as a working group is for pluming software, right? And so we've decided to go with the Peak WMD software. We're going to be offering that to the ILA and to some of the other agencies, the hazmat agencies in our region. So once again, that's part of where our funding goes. Peak WMD. So that's what we're going to be offering as an opportunity for our hazmat teams as far as plume modeling software and a number of other capabilities. There was a presentation by Connex Florida. We discussed that in the working group. But Connex Florida, Pete probably has a bigger interest in that and something like that. Basically, Connex Florida, the presentation, long story short, it's basically an opportunity, a web-based platform for manufacturers and industry stakeholders to get together and find what they need. They started off during COVID, for example, when this company needs all of a sudden to go from needing 5 ventilators to 500 ventilators. Well, who can manufacture it? Well, they can manufacture it, but they're short one particular component. Well, then that manufacturer can manufacture that component for them. And it's basically a networking aggregate for them, for the private industry. Now, on the public safety side, obviously, we're going to be using WebEOC for resource lists and everything else like that, but it's essentially a privatized version of that, so that you have manufacturing processes or abilities to something to provide to the industry, you can list it on that site, and or if you need something, you can find and request that. So Charlene, I'm sure, can get you the link to that company and or their presentation. It is in your agenda package if you guys have an interest in that. And we had a big discussion about that during our working group as well, on the private industry side. While sometimes we get so focused on the fire rescue side being WebEOC based, it does have value outside of public safety. The Utabi Award obviously went to our TTF, Oscar Rodriguez. All right, that is an award that showcases somebody who really emboldens and embodies the LEP spirit and accomplishes that mission that we're trying to tackle. And Oscar Rodriguez at CERC 2 meetings ago, received that award on behalf of our LEPC. And we do have 2 other certificates of appreciation to offer. So on behalf of the South Florida LEPC, Mr. Doug LaValle and Mr. Kenny Yost. All right, we want to. We want to thank you guys not only for your efforts every day in public safety. The 2 of you, I can attest that you guys go above and beyond the call of duty and above and beyond your badge. And you have tirelessly worked on not only for your own departments, but for the region and for the state, both on the lithium-ion task force for the state fire marshal's office, with all the regional presentations, with teaching classes at the hazmat symposium, and all the other work you do. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Chief, anything else to add?
It's actually it's a pleasure working with Doug again. And I've known Doug for a long time, and this is kind of like a spark. He's always like a kid in a candy store when he gets talking about the hazmat stuff. So it's been fun. Just so everybody knows, just to kind of a tribute to his talents, he's been doing this, kind of in his private business and his own research, and put together his own program that, quite frankly, we just polished up and educated ourselves on, and got with the program and started some conversations for several years now before this started to even become the hot topic. So kudos to him, and it's always a pleasure working with him. And one more thing that I will add, that I should have talked about in the chair's report, is some recent developments in legislation. So with the task force, and I know it's kind of a little side topic, but I feel it's important to get it out. We've kind of had the attitude that from a state level, the rulemaking and putting everything into effect reference lithium was going to be a challenge, number one. And number two, especially in the state of Florida, everything has to go to rule that you're trying to get really accomplished, and it takes a long time. So we were encouraging municipalities to try to investigate and see what local ordinances they could pass, reference EV regulation, charger regulation, et cetera. So there were 2 different bills. They were buried in omnibus bills, as a matter of fact. One was from the EV industry, and the other one was from the state fire marshal's office. Really, I think the more important, but the other one is scary, is the bill that did get signed by Governor DeSantis, got passed by House and Senate, Bill 989. One of the bills in one of the sections in there has to do with the state of Florida enabling us to adopt rule and NFPA standard and go above NFPA standard for the regulation of energy storage systems, which are more and more prevalent. And I think that's where there's a real danger, and you're going to see a lot more growth in that area, not only from the private sector, but FPL, especially with all the solar farms and their added use and exponential use. Commercial hotels, different types of manufacturing buildings are using them for different peak powers and energy storage as well. And you're starting to see incidents all over the place to varying degrees. So a lot of this has to do with the initial design and setup, and a lot of the research that Brian Vassar has enlightened me to has shown that this really doesn't come from a certain type of batteries, the age of the batteries, which is really what you would think, but a lot of it is the design and regulation of that system. So I think that one's really important. On the flip side of that, I can tell you that I believe it was signed, but I did not confirm it yet. I've been traveling. That the other bill that was going to limit municipalities on what they could regulate with EV charging stations, I was told that was also signed. So we have one for the good guys. One is going to be an additional challenge, is what I'll say. In talking with Oscar, Kenny, and I went to the inspectors meeting, and they think that it's so general at this point that there's probably a workaround. There's got to be a way to basically keep things safe. You can't make a life safety hazard just because something is trying to block municipalities. But that is all. I'll shut my trap, or you guys will be here way past lunch.
Good stuff.
Oh, I apologize. I skipped a step. Thank you, Charlene. We need to make a motion for the approval of the previous minutes. I apologize for skipping that. So is there a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting? Anybody? Thank you. And a second?
I'll
Second.
Excellent. All in favor? All opposed? Good. Motion carries. Thank you, Charlene. I appreciate that.
Hey, a week ago, I was at UL Fire Safety Research Labs in Northbrook. And Chief Russo's year should have been burning because I told them of the efforts of the state to enact that legislation. So they're very interested in following this. The other thing that the group may need to be aware of, and I'm looking for stakeholder involvement because this is strange for me. I changed positions. I left JetBlue. I work for a manufacturer now. And I see a need for something, but they're not particularly interested in doing that. I need stakeholder involvement to push the issue to require emergency response guides. And the other issue with that, because some companies are doing it voluntarily, the NFPA has unofficially announced that they're not particularly interested in staying in the business of hosting those guides. Right now, there's no one place to go in the country or around the world that if you're on the street or you have a problem, where you could go to one location and look it up. NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, out of the goodness of their hearts, because they thought it was going to make money, decided to host those. But the link keeps breaking, and honestly, their appetite to continue to do this is not going to be there. At some point, we're going to need a reference document like the ERG for EV and hybrid vehicles. There's already a standard for what is supposed to go in those sheets. The problem is where to host them. As I'm working with a group called the Association of Equipment Manufacturers, or AEM, because most of what my company specializes in is off-road and heavy agricultural stuff. It doesn't really have DOT or NHTSA requirements. We're coming up with a standard and trying to find a way to create a funding source and have somebody host that. So at some point, there's going to be a need from the stakeholder community to express their desire for that and complain loud enough that people listen. Because that's what's going to push people off of Top Dead Center. The other issue I have is that there's no requirements to mark those.
Right.
Passenger vehicles, sometimes they have a badge or a label or something. Some states license plates now have logos or require a specific marking. I'm not so sure Florida does that. So if you get something like a bolt that somebody took a piece of trim off of, how are you going to know? Unless you're a car guru. And then when they're crushed up and in the process of melting down, they're even more difficult to identify. So also identifying them properly. So as you work with the legislative community, these are some of the other things I would hope that you would think about, because the threat's there. While our area is certainly not home to a lot of heavy agriculture, a lot of the stuff we're making includes dozers, excavators, and a lot of heavy equipment that public utilities are going to love. Because if I could dig your street up and not make any noise in the middle of the day, people are happier. So it's out there. It's out there, and it's coming.
It's coming. So Chief Yost on the other side of Brian, Pete, already he's the gentleman that can talk to you offline about the near miss that he had, his agency had. In the important part there is it's exactly what you said. It's a commercial vehicle, right? It was, so of course it was the incident that it was a serious incident, and it happened in the middle of the night, and it wasn't obvious that it was an EV, right? It's not always going to be a Tesla or a Lucid vehicle. To your point, I did forget to mention that Director Rice did formally tell the task force and myself that she will be seeking our input, and I expressed my my enthusiasm for that to her yesterday. So Peter, I had already planned on calling you, but it's already in my notes on what I want to outline for as far as the marking. But let's have a discussion about the ERGs because I had the same thought process. Is there's a bunch of private companies that do it. I know the NFPA for a while was making the manufacturers kind of do all the updating, and I don't see this really panning out to be a good situation.
So
out of respect
one
for
of
the
the things-
NFPA, we'll talk bad about them, but we know that I think you hit the nail on the head. It's there's no money in it for them, so it's got to go somewhere else. What about DOT?
One of the things we're capable of doing, and I'll say we, because I come from the stakeholder community also, there's funding. Safer grants, AFG grants have funding available at the federal level for databases that support firefighter health and safety. So we could do this through some overarching entity that would be willing to kind of manage the library, so to speak, curate what's in there and just manage the grant. We kind of need somebody to do a pass through. When I was on site at UL, I was looking for somebody to talk to because they're emerging as a potential really good partner. And they also got the grant for the new incident reporting system nationwide. So it's not like they don't have experience and there's not a track record there, but I don't know that that's the best option, but I would really advocate some kind of cohesive push. And it's not just for the first responder communities, but waste regulators, waste responders, the second tow truck people, everybody that has to make contact with these things is gonna have this issue.
Agreed.
And it's not a conversation that we are having for the first time either. We talked about placarding with the EV and the propane buses when Alicia brought the new EV school buses over to our region for us to kind of learn and take a look at. You know, we had that same discussion, well, over 10 years ago, almost 15 years ago, when the propane school buses started. The placarding, the only required DOT placarding is a 2-inch gray diamond that says propane on it and on the rear of the bus. So you have, say, a car that T-bones a bus and now it's stuck underneath and you have a vehicle fire with a bus, you know, full of children. It's probably important to know what fuel type it is so that we can mitigate that quickly because it's a vastly different tactic, whether it's electric vehicle, propane, or traditional combustion engine. And DOT does not want to scare the public, I would imagine. And so they're not going to be plastering propane all over a school bus, right?
It's a giant regulatory hole. There is a standard that works out of the country in Europe and OCONUS, let's say, like in different regions around the world. It kind of looks like a hazmat diamond, but it's on a contrasting background and it has the primary and secondary fuel hazards. So if it's a diesel over electric vehicle, like if it's a diesel power plant that drives electric engines, it'll show both. If it's battery, hybrid, mild hybrid, whatever, and they put them on all four sides and it works. There's a guy in the Netherlands that's in the fire department that's pushing this very hard. It's just a question of trying to get somebody to want to regulate it here.
And I'm sure Alicia will advocate for alternative fuels all day and all night. It's incredible for infrastructure, incredible for future and development. However, it comes with a whole different set of hazards, right? And so I think identification is something that we can push both on the public safety side and on the private industry side. For example, heavy agricultural equipment, you have a piece of farm equipment on fire in a field. Well, it's pretty important to know what fuels are burning when you show up 25 minutes later.
Yes.
Or what's next to you.
If you speak to most departments, and I've spoke to a lot of departments over the years, and the big push, this is everybody's conversation in Fire Department USA. What fuels are burning? And a lot of times they're not marked. On the new EVs, a lot of the markings are, a lot of the badging is not.
It's really subtle.
Yeah, it's very subtle. And so a lot of car owners are putting, this is what I've heard, and I've seen the article on, they're taking just heat guns or just hair blowers.
They don't want one.
And they don't want them on there. They're taking them off because they're ugly. So now you have a car that's smashed up in the rear and there's no badging on it at all. So this has been a concern. And the other part of that article was I don't know if you heard this, Chief Russell, in reference to the guardrail system in the USA. the way the guardrail systems in the USA and all our interstate highways and our turnpikes, they were all identical. They were all the same height, same width, same everything. The way the EVs are built, they're bottom heavy. And when an EV hits it, it separates the body from the batteries. And the batteries are going underneath the car and the car is going in another direction. So that's a push now. What are we gonna do to the guardrail system? They're gonna have to maybe double it up now. You know what the infrastructure cost on that would be?
Well, they're also significantly heavier too, so you have a bigger impact.
So when they're hitting at a lower speed, they can actually sever the upper body from the lower body.
Wow.
And,
Interesting.
yeah, so, just another thing coming about the EVs. And it's gonna continue and evolve, it's gonna continue, it's gonna take decades before we get ahead of it.
Oh, yeah.
I think
It's the land of unintended consequences, would you say?
Yeah, we're all pushing in the right direction. You know, certain minds are trying at the state level, at the local level, at the federal level. We're all trying to, probably, come together and mitigate this, but it's gonna take forever. It's a money issue now. It costs a lot of money to do a lot of this. From what you're talking about, Pete, to the apps and to everything else, there's a dollar figure on everything, and the money don't come overnight.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a lot of consumer products, a lot of commercial products, not a lot of infrastructure to support that yet, right?
Yeah, and it not being a hazardous material, it's no problem. Right?
Until it's on fire. in your house,
Absolutely.
your car, and it's impacting your water table and your soil.
That's right.
Let me ask you a question regarding fuel sources. So there's a lot of switchover now from the typical batteries that you would have on a recreational boat, going to lithium batteries. That's becoming now a big push. Does that change your response to let's say there's a wreck boat at the dock, fire's going on, yeah, of course, fiberglass is blowing up. Does that change your thinking if you knew that you have a lithium
Same
battery?
thing for you guys, if you do a boarding of a big boat, yachts are using them for house batteries a lot now.
Yes.
If you guys have
Yes.
to board.
Yeah, between trolling batteries, house batteries, all kinds of
Yes.
stuff.
For the
So-
recreational lithium ion battery boats, and they're out there. I've seen them at the boat show, the international boat show. They're in full flow.
We did a trip. Yeah, Kenny can talk about it. We did a trip. So the short answer to that is usually the incidents that we have seen. The first mild hybrid incident that I saw was in Hollywood over the weekend. But they're coming. I was astonished with how much stuff is going marine. So it just has to be in your risk profile, right? In your risk analysis, go into these. Where we have seen a lot of things in South Florida is with the toys, right? Whether they're the e-bikes or whether they're actually made for marine environments, like the hydrofoils is a special one that's had a couple incidents. Because what do? They're usually used around the marina when the yacht is docked, or they're out playing with it and they're putting it back on the boat. And hey, don't charge it around a wet environment. Well, the whole environment's wet. The whole environment is saturated with salt. And hey, we got to get this bike charged because we got to go back out. And a couple of e-bikes have been the downfall of a couple yachts that I can think of, at least 3 of them over the past 2 years. And the hydrofoils have been another one. So the short answer is you got to think lithium's in everything. That the other thing that we're seeing is the golf carts. So we're getting the notices to take them off the tier 2 list, which really we get just reverse engineered to say, okay, well, they're definitely using lithium then. If you followed up with a phone call, yeah, they switched over to lithium, right? So
Our hazmat response is, our response is a hazmat response. It's a fire.
Yeah.
But it's a hazmat response. We may have to boom, we may have to dam, we have to dike.
Right.
If we're putting water on it, all the sensitive environmental concerns are there. There's water, there's canals, there's culverts, there's storm drains, sewers, they're everywhere. And that's our main concern. The fire is not the concern so much as it is the environment that we're just, called the vehicle is actually polluting. So we have to think that right off the bat. That's not the same as a regular ICE, which is an internal combustion engine. vehicle. It's a little different, so.
Do
I think
fire
we'll-
boats have capabilities for foam, or is that also an environmental issue with the?
Well, with the phone that we have, we're gonna use it for sure, the stuff, the old stuff. It is an environmental concern, not as bad as AFFF back in the day, protein foam. But the new stuff we're getting.
Yeah, so, you know, the changeover now is from the AFFF, not the protein foam, but the AFFF that has a fluorine component, a PFAS component. And the problem is that fluorine component persists in the environment and in the water table for a longer period of time than initially thought. So now that the new foam, like for example, Hollywood and a lot of your local agencies here in South Florida have already switched over to a fluorine-free component that is supposed to be dye-free, fluorine-free, environmentally friendly. But you know, we'll see what the environmental impact of that is 10 years from now. Maybe we'll be having the same discussion. But I would say it depends on where they're at in their changeover. Now, we have to use that product to mitigate a safety issue. We're going to, right? Sometimes you have to take a hit on the chin to make sure that you win the fight, right? But I would say in our local area, it's probably not as big of a concern than it is probably in the middle of the state where they haven't completed that changeover yet. Right, good discussion, guys. All right, so there is, we'll probably spend an entire week. But I appreciate you guys' knowledge and your expertise on the matter for sure. Moving on to the continuing on with the working group reports. So obviously the planning and training working groups are one working group, and we met over in April and we provided to the chair and to our coordinator a prioritized list of requests. So we receive a lot of requests for support, whether it's financial or locations or, you know, just networking support. And we took a list from Ms. Burke and we kind of keyed in on several high priority items, high priority requests for training, hosting training classes, equipment such as the Peak WMD plumbing software for our local hazmat teams. Some of your local, you know, obviously we get a lot of requests for like the HAZWOPER classes, and we can direct them over to Nova's program instead of it coming out of our dollars, things of that nature. So if you want to get involved, there's still plenty of room on the working groups. Jump on in, talk to Charlene, she'll get you set up on it. The more the merrier. The more ideas that we can share, the more voices we have in the room, the better the result. So feel free to jump in on that. And then the update on that is we discussed a 1, 3, and somewhat 5-year kind of priority as far as those training requests. So we're going to process those. Charlene's got all the details if you need any additional on that. As far as the training side of the working groups, we've completed several trainings that we either had a direct hand in or we've been an observer or participant to. One of those was the anhydrous ammonia at the public cold storage in Deerfield. Obviously, they host the fire rescue side quite often. We typically try to go there once a year. So in our Region 7 Special Operations teams, they all cycle through there. They have quite the anhydrous system for the cold storage facility. And they're no stranger to incidents, both in-house and affecting public safety as well. So that's always a good one for us to get our eyes and ears on. We also did, we observed the Miami-Dade's, the Port Miami Tunnel Crisis Simulation Exercise. That was a big success over in April. And then the SUSAR Tech Rescue Symposium back in November. The pipeline safety training from Paradigm Liaison Services. We're looking at October for that.
Yeah, they just wrote me yesterday. I have to see the update. So October's gonna be a really busy training month.
Yes, it is.
So I'll provide that in the next update, sir.
Excellent, excellent. And then we also did some work with Transcare, and then we also met Damien from Airgas, and we're working on hosting an exercise via Airgas and hopefully trying to find a location to do an actual host an actual ammonia product release. In addition to like a simulated exercise. Airgas is hopefully going to donate some vehicles or maybe end of life truck that we can use as a training asset for the region. All right, so keep your eyes open from that because that we're going to be able to do some neat things. All right, and that'll be available to the entire region. On the exercise side, the ERP, obviously Shannon gave us a brief on that this morning. Once that is ready to go, we anticipate putting that plan to test, and we are going to be testing it via tabletop exercise. All right. So as soon as we get some more information from the FEMA National Help. We're looking at 2025, right?
Yep, I'm just waiting to hear back from FEMA.
Excellent. So
if
we
they
made,
accepted our proposal.
we're throwing around the idea in the working group of potentially doing an internal one, getting all of our stakeholders into the room for a meeting and putting that plan in everybody's hands and kind of doing a little mini scenario. Nothing too robust, but just so everybody's a little bit more familiar with it before FEMA comes and actually does a hard test on the plan itself. All right, so keep open for that. If you have any ideas or you want to participate, jump in and we will get that going. Heat shield is ongoing. There was a big meeting on it yesterday. Charlene, thank you for sitting in on that meeting. And that is going to be July 17th. Yes, and there is an additional flyer in the agenda package if you're interested in all of that. I think several of our stakeholders are heavily involved in heat shield. Miss George, your tanker rollover demonstration exercise in October. How's our progress with that?
We're hoping to do it BFA.
Okay.
We're working with LD2 Defense, Russell Arcady or
Russell Cardi.
Cardi. Yeah, that's who we're working with.
Right.
We had talked with Charlene about possibly moving it to September to make it work with the LEPC. But we don't really want to do it in September just because it would end up being peak of hurricane season. And it would really suck to put all that effort
Even
in.
though, October is just as bad some years, but,
Yeah, but we wanted to stay out of November for holidays and all that.
I mean,
So as of right now, we've set down the dates 8, 9, and 10.
excellent,
We're still working.
excellent. All right, and the main objective for that is, what's our target audience?
The regional hazmat teams, Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach, and we want to work with, L2 Defense is kind of going to go over incident command and working with your regional teams and working with the private sector. And then we want to work with tapping, CDI is donating a tanker. We're going to roll it over.
Hot tap, ground bond, transfer. Are you field transfer too?
Is that something you'd be interested in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking to a 12-year hazmat guy, of course.
Yeah.
I'll talk.
Let's break everything.
You have a little fire in there too?
Yeah. Now we're talking. Now we're talking.
Transferring.
Sorry, chief, we're doing it in the yard at the training facility. It's okay, I know a 1402 guy who can help us out with that. Yeah, you're here for part
Yeah,
on that.
Good to finally know, Peter.
Chief of VSO here too.
That would have been helpful information about 10 years ago.
Oh, 1402 resource right here.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Mr. Schechter. Welcome back.
I never say no, man.
So Peter, I'll be in touch, but hey, listen, it's getting,
Train there. Excellent. Mr. George, thank you very much for that update. We look forward to seeing that. The Transcare, the ammonia live drill, we kind of briefly touched on that. Maybe Charlene can add a few more details. You spent the day with Damien from Airgas, and he's really, really looking forward a partnership with public safety and other regional stakeholders. And I think he found what we're looking for with our LEPC.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna come in October. No, the date's not on the top of my head, I apologize, but you all will know about it, don't worry. They have a tremendous amount of resources and they would like to do additional trainings. They want to bring props to our area. They have information on hydrogen. They're actually ahead of the Fed in some ways on hydrogen, and they want to offer hydrogen training. There's actually some information in the agenda under the admin items related to hydrogen. If you haven't looked at that, he strongly recommended that be like everybody should take that as a basic. So they're going to continue to be involved with us long-term, and I pushed them up to FDEM because they really want to help all the LEPCs in all of Florida. And in fact, he also brought in his Southeast United States VP to kind of oversee things and make sure that that happens. So if we do good in Florida, I think that they're going to expand their resource capabilities to help other areas around the United States. So they're very interested in being a supportive partner. So we're grateful to them. And that would not have happened without the support of Transcare. So we're really grateful to them. And just to take one step back, Chief, I know we didn't get to talk about the EOC exercise or the LEPC that some of our partners were at over at Hollywood. Did you want to address that, sir?
Sure, I'll talk on that real quick. I was actually just putting in the chat that it's time for me to go. I've got a planning meeting up here in Georgia. But yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. So what we did at the request originally of the emergency manager, along with our new public safety director, who's our former police chief. Where's my head at, right? In Hollywood. Basically, we wanted to forego a hurricane drill and do a no notice event test of all the different directors and departments in the city of Hollywood, external stakeholders, both public and private, and the EOC. So, what we did was a tabletop that was actually redundant in three different groups that all had the same scenario. They had 15 questions in two modules. The event was a quick moving tornado, which they're not used to. But it's definitely appropriate because you're seeing all these little tornadoes pop up around the Tri-County area. And then that was followed in the second module by an infrastructure breakdown and a chlorine release at the South Regional Water Treatment Plant in Hollywood. Which we've had some very minor incidents. So those guys think that I was targeting them for that, but it was just coincidence. But it was very productive, and as a matter of fact, we did follow it up last week with the actual hurricane tabletop. So they got two of them, but it was, I think, a good success. We actually had evaluators came out from Broward EM to try to improve relationships, and there's a lot of turnover there, as well as some legacy personnel. So we wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page, and we had some interaction between the groups. So I think everything was very well received. The information that we got back from the directors and the participants was all good. So thank you everybody for that, and there'll be some more follow-up if you were present as soon as we get all the after actions from the evaluators. And great meeting. I'm glad you guys are all engaged. I must depart. You're in good hands with Brian and Charlene, and I'll be in touch soon. A reference. I'll keep you guys updated. I think we'll probably do some informationals on what's going on with the projects with the lithium batteries and everything else that we got going on. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you there.
Yeah, that was actually the next agenda item here. So perfect segue into it. We had quite a few of our stakeholders at that. It started off as a local exercise, and then it kind of turned into an LEPC exercise, really. And the results have been broadcast to some of our regional partners as well. I thought everybody that was running it, evaluating it, and performing it, I thought it was a very positive event. And we do have the ability to use that because we had LEPC representation, but we do have the ability to use that as one of our annual tabletop exercises. And so we'll be discussing that depending on how our exercise future looks. That would be it for the exercise. So Ms. Charlene, over to the coordinator's report from here.
You have the agenda. I really won't take any time. So
Sure.
I just list activities that I've been trying to participate in. My goal is always to become better educated so I can communicate more effectively with our membership and with our stakeholders. If you have any questions or concerns or ideas, please work with me. I will go to work for you.
Excellent. I'll just list off some of the things that she's been working on, and that way, if you have any follow-up questions or anything additional to add, feel free. So we have the FBI Miami Department of Energy, the Community Unified Response, the RAD. That was in February. We did the Florida Statewide Chemical Surge Virtual TTX in March. The Region 10 and Region 7 Specialty Teams meeting, those are always ongoing on a monthly basis through the Fire Chiefs Association. It's very productive. We see a lot of overlap with some of these gentlemen here. And then there's also the Homeland Security Exercise and Evaluation Program at the Broward EOC. And once again, the public's ammonia, anhydrous ammonia cold storage exercise that was conducted, that was a big success. The Port Miami Tunnel Crisis Project, and the United States Coast Guard Area Contingency Plan, the semi-annual area committee meeting was in March. And the State Emergency Response Commission obviously was held, and we represented your LEPC there, and we're doing our best to bring that information back down to you guys as far as the TTF and LEPC and CERT is concerned. All right, that concludes that part of the agenda, so we're open to any member comments. Alicia, did you have something to speak on if she's still around, if we didn't put her to sleep yet?
She jumped on, looks
Oh,
like she might have
She
jumped
might
on.
have, she might have ran out of time. I know that she'd be very interested to speak with Damien as far as the hydrogen infrastructure. And then just to trace back to Damien and Airgas, he's based out of Houston, right?
Yeah.
So here you have an individual, a high-ranking executive from Airgas based in Houston, flying all the way over to South Florida to partner with us because he's not getting the support in his own backyard. So it's a testament to our LEPC and how, you know, we compliment you guys on your involvement and your producing of results. And we tell you every time that our LEPC tends to highlight the CERC in a very positive way. We're not the only ones doing good work, but we are doing great work. And that's, once again, case in point to that. You have somebody flying halfway across the country to donate equipment to us because that's where the value is. That's where we're getting things done.
As, sir, and the group, as you develop these relationships, as you formalize these partnerships between public and private, you're gonna leverage your expertise and your ability beyond your current imagination or where you think you could be. I could tell you 15, 18 years ago, we did the same thing outside Philly and in that region with specialty gas, specialty chemical companies, to the point where when the hazmat team got activated, so today, if it was a gas event, and they would show up and be behind us to be able to provide expertise. And as good as everybody is, it's just nice to have somebody that's a PhD and invented the stuff standing behind you and that has a coffin or all the cool specialty tools to manage it. So take advantage of this and run with it. I'm really glad to see that it's happening. It was weird that it wasn't before, but I'm glad to see it is now, but it's great. There's no downside to this.
And just if I may, so Damien has 40 teams that he runs across the United States, about 400 team members. He actually, you know, he has a push button capability. He's actually bringing in his subject matter experts. He's having them fly in from Washington State to participate. He's bringing in his own teams that are local within the region as part of their strategic training so that we can get like mutual aid. So there's a lot of positive that's gonna come out of this for all of us. So, and this scenario you just described, he actually brought that up. You call me, take a picture, send it to me. What do you got? Let me explain how this works. Get my guy, get him on the phone, and he's talking to you. And that's exactly the type of relationships
Yeah,
that.
they were just a part of the team. It's just how it
Yes.
worked. They would show up.
Yeah, I think we've seen that, you know, often with, like CSX and Tri-Rail and all that, they have their emergency response team that often comes out to big incidents. It's nice to see that and some of the other stakeholders and more involvement. Right, so, I applaud you guys for your efforts on that. I think we've come a long way and we're still running full steam ahead. Does anybody else have any other member comments? Any upcoming exercises, questions, concerns? And Miss Alicia is not available for her reports.
No.
Well, we will.
Chief Marston is on the line. I don't know if he would like to talk about his very generous offer for
Yes.
November.
Chief Marston, I'm happy to see Monroe County back in the mix. And I hear we may
Very
be
busy time. Really busy, just glad to be back with the LEPC. Just a couple of notes quickly. First, with the presentation that came up on the HMERP, we have all the support, whatever support you need from us in Monroe County. That's something we have been looking for to be able to utilize here during our spills and responses throughout the county. I don't know if you saw, but about a week and a half ago, we had a rather significant for us spill of Jet A at the airport. And I was asking the response companies for their plans, and they just kind of shook their head and said, I'll get it to you. And trying to mitigate any further damage or potential damages, it was just difficult to get them to, not just necessarily to cooperate, to understand what we were looking for and to get from them as they continue to do their cleanup there.
Yeah, what an
So-
opportunity that would be to be able to provide them with that document, especially when Shannon's worked so hard to create a facility owner section in that document. Say, hey, if you don't have the resources, here's a place you can start right here. So,
Exactly, and try to give them a heads up of what they would be used to having in their local communities to what we would require here or recommend here was difficult at best to communicate to them. So you have our support with that. As far as in November, we're looking forward to being able to host that. We're still waiting. We have a CO for our new EOC, but we haven't moved in yet, and we're anticipating a move. Hopefully they won't tell us 2 days. You got 2 days to pack your stuff up and get out. So
2 days, that's
keep you
generous.
informed on that. And then we have when it comes to the other training offerings that's here, please recognize that we would like to be able to participate with the tanker rollover as well as the Transcar. As you know, from Monroe County, all of our materials come in by tractor trailer. We have no other way to get anything in here but by tractor trailer. So we have thousands of trucks coming in every day across the county. So, and with just a 2-lane road coming in, we have an interesting time of it. So with that, I'll say thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. And we definitely looking forward to visiting your EOC when the time is appropriate. In fact, I think we have tentative plans to host a future LEPC meeting down in your neck of the woods. Try to bring your resources down to you rather than making you guys travel all the way. And I mean, if you're telling me I have to go down to the Keys for the meeting, I mean, the things I do for the public, right? If I have to. Right. So
Well, we
Chief
have-
Larson,
Should then move the meeting to Friday.
Yeah.
It's gotta be close to a weekend, right?
We could do
Besides
that.
the EOC, we also have a state certified training academy that's in Marathon. So we have a state certified training academy with a classroom that will seat about 50. So
excellent.
we have that available as well, that we do our minimum standards classes as well as other classes there.
Excellent. I'm happy to see it. I know that Charlene and I, for the past year and a half, we've been discussing trying to get Monroe County a little bit more involved because we are located in Broward. A lot of our stakeholders are in Broward, and then Miami-Dade is very self-sufficient, so they often operate independently. Although they are getting more and more regional participation. Monroe often, it kind of gets forgotten about down in the Keys there. So we're making an effort. I'm glad to see that the effort is being reciprocated. So Chief, I'm looking forward to seeing what we accomplish next.
A number of years ago, we had CERC came down to Key West for one of their meetings. So we had all of CERC was there, and they had a couple of days, a few days meeting. So we'll work to accommodate as best as we can.
Right, so this is like to influence regional coordination, cooperation, not just to keys, it really is to support our partners down in Monroe County. And then for that day, because there will be travel involved, we have every intention of maximizing the resources while we're there. And I'm thinking of things like the work that the chiefs are doing with lithium ion, whatever, we have plenty of time to talk about some strategic opportunities for additional training while we're there at that facility. So, and I'm not opposed to a Friday if that is at the board's discretion to make those decisions and the availability of the facility. So we can discuss that as well.
Excellent. So that leads us right into, unless we have any other comments.
Only thing I'd like to bring up is that when we do schedule these like little 4-hour classes for all these fire rescue agencies around the tri-county area here, anybody wishing to attend, just the flyers out there, just show up and sit in, and you'll hear what we're preaching out there at the awareness level for lithium ion fire safety.
Here, you're looking at the very bottom of the 12, the bullet point that says EV and lithium ion. At the very bottom, you're going to see that 4-hour awareness agenda package item.
We had one scheduled for Riviera, but they overscheduled, made it cancel the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of this month in Riviera Beach, which also included West Palm and Palm Beach County. They had a big auditorium for us that fit somewhere around 150, 175 people. but they're rescheduling. And I just sent that out to you guys for June. So we're gonna try to make it in June. I know June's a very busy month for me, but we're gonna try to make it happen. So we'll put that out through Ms. Burt, and anybody in here and anybody on the web, you're welcome to pop in the class.
All right, thanks, Chief. Thanks for the invite. So that leads us right into our next meetings. All right, your next LEPC meeting is gonna be August 21st here at the South Florida Regional Planning Council. And then hopefully, pending the marathon, the Monroe County EOC development and the invite potentially from Chief Marston, we are hoping to have our November meeting down in Monroe County, if possible. So tentatively planned for Monroe. And we'll be discussing that with Chief Marston to see if that can fly. As far as your state level, your Emergency Response Commission, your CERC meetings, we have the Training Task Force, the LEPC, and your CERC, and that's going to be in the next one. It's going to be in July in Sarasota. So your leadership will be attending those and hopefully bringing all of your great ideas up there and bringing any kind of state level information back to you guys. All right. Anything else? All right, well, I appreciate you guys' time. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All opposed? Have a great day, guys.
Good job.
Eduardo, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Dude, 105, made a run for our house.